It's March 23rd, right? 2020, and we're in lockdown.
Yep.
We're in martial law
Yep.
in the state of Illinois. It started it's Monday, so it started at 3 p.m. on
Friday.
Saturday, I think. Saturday.
Okay.
Saturday. So I guess I just wanted to tell a story of how I've been sick and tell you what's gone on with me. So let's see. Probably the first week of January, I got sick, and it went on for about you haven't told you this story, have I?
Not the full story.
No. Okay. So I got sick, and I 2 days after my friend got sick, and I had drunk out of his cup that he left here, and he wasn't sick at that point, and I don't know, whatever. I drank out of his cup. I don't care.
Right.
I'm not a germaphobe. So, and I don't get sick. So he got sick, and I'm like, oh boy, now hopefully I won't get sick. So I did get sick about 2 days later. So this was the first week of January 2020. So I got sick, and he was kind of my test for like, how long am I going to be sick? Like, you know.
Yeah.
So he was sick, and it went on for about 5 days, and he was like bad at 5 days, and I'm like worse, and I'm like, oh my god, like I usually pop some jalapenos because they have capsaicin in them, and I clear up bronchitis or any kind of respiratory or anything like that in no time. So it got to about day 5, and that was like, it kept getting worse and worse. I was extremely tired, maybe had a little bit of a temperature one day, I don't even know, and dry cough, which is what everybody in this town's been complaining about, being sick. I've heard from nurses, and I've been in urgent care listening to them.
How long did you say before you got to that point?
How long?
Yeah.
Like 5 days. Like on the 5th day, I'm like at my, probably feeling the worst of the whole time was on the 5th day. But then it just kind of stayed there. It just kind of stayed there for another, like it didn't really get much better. Like for about another week.
Okay.
For about another week. So, let's see. So then I was having this dry cough, and it was very bizarre because I didn't have any phlegm. So, that's the symptom here in my town. And, and when I did have any, I mean, I went through a lot of Kleenex. There just wasn't anything on my Kleenex. My nose wasn't running. When I did come out, it was like this clear, I hate to be so graphic, but it's like this clear, like super glue, like super sticky mucus that I've never had before. And I've had other people, in fact, other places, Louisville, Kentucky, she was complaining about that too. She got sick, but she was only sick for a day. Anyway, so I got sick for about 2 weeks, and I kept getting worse. So I could tell it was in my bronchioles, but it was really like stuck in my sinuses and my bronchioles, but not, it was very bizarre. Sure. So I finally okay, I gotta get over this. So my boyfriend and I went to the urgent care, and he went first. He got sick about a week after I did. So he was on about his 5th day, and I was on 2 weeks. And I was still like unclear. I don't know. I still try to kick this with turmeric and ginger and tea and dandelion root and burdock root and and all my natural remedies and C and D3 and all the whole thing. Right. So and I was taking tons of stuff and I'm like, okay, I went through 2 jars of jalapenos to try to get rid of this thing. So I'm like sitting in the waiting room for him to come out, and my right ear, I could just feel this fluid just fill up my inner ear. And I to the point where I was in tears by the time they called me into the room. By the time that she came into the room, I was crying, because not like sobbing, but like, I mean, I had real baby tears coming out of my eyes, and I'm like, I don't mean to be melodramatic, but I think I'm having a new issue I developed in the dressing room, or the dressing room, the waiting room. And so she's like, okay. She gave me like a 10 days of amoxicillin. So now I've been sick 2 weeks at this point. So I go fill my prescription. It helps, take the pressure off right away. But I lost my hearing. became really muffled. I used a neti pot. Oh my God, this story is like
How long you think that lasts? Like losing your hearing?
about a month.
About a month.
About a month, yeah. And so I went through all kinds of things. It's kind of a separate issue than what I want to deal with, but one of them, I think I saw 3 separate nurses. I don't think they're even doctors that you see anymore.
Right.
3 separate nurses, and each time I went, I don't watch TV, so I don't understand this stuff that's going on in the outside. So I'm like, I think I have coronavirus, and I think they just like went, whatever, like she's freaking okay. So then no, I was not tested. They all 3 of them ignored me. They just pretty much ignored me.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't really think it's any different. Well, then I watched some TV, and then I realized, oh my God, they're really like hyping this up. So now I realize why they're giving me this reaction is because they've got this totally blown out of proportion.
Right.
So I take the antibiotics for 10 full days, and the last day was the last time I had really had the phlegm stuff. I'm online looking at like massaging your lymph nodes and the whole trying to get this out. I'm looking in there, whatever. It ended up being eustachian ear dysfunction, which means my inner ear filled with that mucus I was talking about.
Right.
And so that's about maybe 10 more days. So 2 weeks plus 10 days. I'm still sick. I'm not sick, like I'm done being with whatever it started with. I'm done with that part. But now it's developed into eustachian tube dysfunction. Then I have to go. I would go to the doctor again. Really more because I wanted to go to an ear, nose, throat specialist because I was really getting concerned about my hearing. One of the nurses said, try a neti pot. And I did try a neti pot, and it filled with more with fluid, and I really went deaf.
Can you explain what that is?
The neti pot?
Yeah.
It's like a little like teapot, and you fill it up with a cup of water, and you put this. It's got a little packet that comes with it, and you put it's salt and baking soda basically is what it. You put warm water in it. You use distilled water or boiled water.
And which one did you use?
I use tap water.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I did that, and about maybe 9 days later, I find this video of some Latin American doctor talking in his car, and he's like, I think the title was like brain eating amoeba or something like that. And the night before, like every night was like something different. Like if this ear unpopped, this ear would close up. So this one night it like went to the other side, and then I'm like, oh my God, it's like out of this ear. So I got up and I'm like, I'm not going back to sleep. Then it like shifted and went right here.
Oh shit.
Well, I did not know you have like little micro, I can't even remember what they're called, little sinus cavities here. Well, this mucus would not have penetrated them. And I pushed on my nose here real hard, and it released some fluid, like runny fluid, not any mucusy stuff.
Right.
I immediately felt like throwing up, so I ran to the sink and I dry heaved because I had nothing. I've been dry heaved, like that kind of that you're salivating and you're gonna throw up,
right.
Kind of throwing up. So I get on and it's called brain eating amoeba. I looked up my symptoms and this is what I find, and he's like, well, if you use a neti pot with tap water, it can give you this brain eating amoeba, and I'm going.
It's always the worst. Right. It's always.
And he's like, and my symptoms were the same as these symptoms he's listing: the temperature and it's very quick. It's a very quick 2 to 14 gestation period. It's been 9 days since I used the neti pot with tap water. Just because I felt so bad, I didn't read the instructions, and it did have a little warning on the label, but so I think I missed it.
Yeah.
I was just wanting to feel better, you know. So I'm like, oh my God, like I don't know whether I don't know. It's very anyway. Brain. It's Fowleri. I can't remember the name of it right now. Neuralgia Fowleri or something like that. And you can get it from tap water. It's more common in like Latin American, southern climates. I think they've had a couple cases that came from it that people use tap water in the United States and and he died quickly, like within 5 days or something.
Shit.
So there's no way, like they have to do a spinal tap on you. With American medicine, you'd be fucking dead for like 5 months before they ever could even do anything for you anyway. So whatever. I'm like, so about half the day I'm like, should I go to the emergency room because they're going to think I'm a completely lunatic, or I'm just going to die anyway, so I might as well just stay here.
Yeah. The diet look crazy. What do you want to do?
So about 1:30, I'm like kind of over it, and it's feeling a little bit better.
Like, okay, let me die.
Like I started feeling a little bit better, so I'm like, okay, because it actually eats your brain and you actually can die. So if you use a neti pot, make sure. And it did fill my ear more up with fluid, which wasn't a bad thing, because if your ear gets infected, then it's just that clear, sticky, this really clear, very sticky, almost plasticky kind of mucus stuff that it was, when it came out, there was hardly any of that. Maybe once. Like, I'm not saying, like, so then after that, what happened? I got a bald spot on my hair, actually. Wow. So I don't know if it's probably, and I got a calic, like I've developed a calic. And so I went to the doctor to check up. It told me the first thing is, I'll just tell you this part of the story too. Okay. I don't know if you don't know what HIPAA is. It's the privacy policy, and it's just HIPPA. Okay. So it's whenever you go to the doctor, they're like, "Oh, sign your initials here that you consent to the privacy policy." Sure. I don't have it with me. Anyway, but I've read it. I knew about the Model State Emergency Health Powers Act, and you guys look this up. Like, if the Model State Emergency Health Powers Act, I believe it was written by Johns Hopkins University. Johns Hopkins University just held an event 201 in October, and ID 2020 just held an event in October of 2019. Then COVID, which I think is coronavirus ID as an identification 19, broke out. Well, that's very convenient because I know I'm going on to the weird. It's okay. Okay, so I live in Macomb, Illinois, in right in between St. Louis and Chicago, right almost in the middle of that point. So we got 5G in my town in fall. And the reason why I know this, well, we all know this because the service became available, we could get it, is because I live next to a tower, 4 houses from a tower, and I noticed that they were changing out the radios up here, and I stopped by. In fact, I wrote down the make and model, and I don't have the make and model of them anymore because anyway, I don't have them anymore. But they did give me, and they said they were swapping the 2G radios out. I believe he referred to them as radios, which would be an out signal, with 5G radios. And he gave me the make and models of them. And I gave them a copy of the contract that the mayor of my town signed with General Dynamics. I think it's right here, actually.
Now, who is General Dynamics?
It is General Dynamics. It is. I do have it right here. If you want to, how do you do this thing? With this.
We have to do that when you edit it.
Oh, we'll do it when you edit it. Okay. So it's basically General Dynamics is the 5th. Last I checked, it was the 5th largest defense contractor. Okay. So this is a contract that I found. And there was a memorandum of lease, although I do not see, this is kind of old. Well, actually, no, it wasn't, because I did never do anything with this. It was signed February 12th, 2015 by Michael Inman, the mayor of Macomb, and AT&T, and what's the other one here? New Singular Wireless. AT&T. And we don't have AT&T service here, by the way. So General Dynamics, I thought there was a new Singular Wireless PCS LLC from Atlanta, Georgia. ComNet Wireless LLC. I don't know. We'll try to get this on here.
Well, AT&T's mostly Sprint, no?
Yeah, and so the guys, when I stopped by and talk to them, they here, I'll leave this out. They said, I asked them, you know, they said they were putting up AT&T towers, and they told me that this contract that I have right here is actually I gave them a copy of it because I'm like, dude, this is General Dynamics.
Right.
That's a weapons manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
This is a defense contractor. Okay? So, and you guys can go to your county clerk's office, and wherever you see a cell phone, these are on the water towers, so duh, it's a no-brainer that the city is putting them there.
Right.
I will tell you that the city referred me to the health department.
Mm-hmm.
The health department laughed at me when I said that that it emitted radio frequency. Yeah, she laughed at me at the public health department, which
Wow.
I have a health science degree that I call my death science degree. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, so she laughed at me. But there's epidemiological studies that show higher rates of all kinds of illness when you're around a tower like this.
Right.
So that's just a fact. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, and when I called the city, you know, they said, we don't know anything about that. Well, yeah, you don't know anything about that. Well, that really, because your name's on this document
Right.
that I found at the county clerk's office. So the way that you do this, if you guys want to do this research on your own, is you if you're concerned about a tower, you can find the address or go to your tax assessor's office, and you can give them the address. You don't have to know the exact address. Look, you know, on either side of wherever it is. Get the address. Go to your tax assessor's office. They'll give you the address of it. You know, they'll give you the address of the property, and then you can go to your county clerk's office and you can look up any information regarding that property. Like it's public information.
Right.
So you guys can all do this. Now the FCC has dictatorial rule. So if you read your smart meter on your house, which is, most people don't know what a smart meter is,
Mm-hmm.
but if you read it, it says, you know, this can be overridden by the military, da 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 da. Typically, a smart meter is your utility meter, so it's your power on your house.
Right.
So go check for that right now. Go look for.
So they're saying the military can just take over control.
It says right on. You can read it on
Yeah.
your smart meter.
Okay.
Yeah, and it said the military can override this.
Wow.
This. So it's on everybody's smart meter. So I think it's implied consent. They call it implied consent. They've replaced the meters that they used to come and read manually.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're just doing it wirelessly. So the other thing that I don't even know. I got totally lost, like I always do with all my stories.
Well,
Let's go back to this. Let's go back to I'll go on with that. We're going on to this contract. In the fall of 2019, I saw them working on this tower, which is the water tower.
Mm-hmm.
So they said that they had a contract with AT&T. I said, well, General Dynamics and AT&T have the contract with the one across the town. There's only two in my town. And they didn't know anything about the General Dynamics. I gave them a copy of this, and I don't have the one for my particular tower right at this moment. I have to file a FOIA request, which, if you don't know what that is a Freedom of Information Act request.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want the information and you can't find it at the and you know if it's on a water tower, that's city water, so obviously I go to City Hall and get a Freedom of Information Act there.
Right.
But if it's on a different building, you can, if it's at least a public agency, you can file a Freedom of Information Act and get the contract they have.
Mm-hmm.
This one is very bizarre because usually, like, if a farmer puts one out in his field, it's about you can make like $1,000 a month just sticking one up in your field. Oh yeah, they'll pay you, and then you can have different companies come and put different radios transmitters on that tower.
Sure.
So, and it makes me cringe. I mean, I'm like, how dumb are you to put it right next to your house,
Mm-hmm.
or have animals that are right underneath it that have to live with this?
Now, what do you believe radiation does to the let's say human or animal cells?
Human or animal cells?
Yeah.
well, it's not what I believe, but
Why is it harmful?
oh, okay. So at and I'm not an expert at this. I just know this from doing my research. At 2.45 gigahertz, which is 2.45 billion hertz per second, right? Hertz per second. It's waves per second, frequency waves per second. So a gigahertz is a billion waves per second. Okay, so the way this works, I'm just going to explain this because took me a lot to figure this out, because they make it, not because it's not difficult to understand, because they make it difficult for people to figure this out. So under 1 hertz, they kind of just they kind of ignore it. However, this is how a ground wave emergency network waves function, and they function through the ground. So in my house, since I've moved my bed into the basement, I can hear ground wave emergency network waves. It's a humming, and it's not just a hum or a It's like a real intermittent, like all the time. I can even hear it over the fan. Like I turn the fan on just so I can't hear it. So that the first place I noticed it was in my bathroom. So those are ground wave. Those are ground wave emergency networks. Everywhere else in my house. Did I mention that I live 4 houses from that tower? Yes, I did.
Yeah, you did.
Okay. So I live pretty close, and I lived there for a long time, and it was 2G until last fall. So the way this kind of works is, so that's under 1 hertz, and I don't even know that there's any way for people to measure that, like a random, because I don't even know that they acknowledge that it exists.
Acknowledge what is this?
Under 1 hertz frequency.
Under 1 hertz? I don't know.
So, but it's also a very harmful wave. They've got this whole system set up all over the world already through the ocean, and it travels. It's a 250 to 300 mile wave. So, if you're in the ocean and you're whales, I mean, my theory, because I can't prove it and I don't have the evidence on it, is that these waves have gone through the ocean. So when we hear about the whales beaching and things like that, I mean, if you to hear it when in the air is difficult, but I mean, the sea life that have to listen to, sound underwater is like,
it's that vibration that they feel it more than
right.
Just hearing it.
I mean, I think it would just about, you try to get away from it. I mean, anybody tries to get away from it. Right now where I live, there's no birds. There's some birds, but there's not very many birds. They don't like it there. So I'm moving about 10 miles away out of town. I'm still I realize on the other side of it, there's 3 miles away, there's a big ground wave emergency network tower. But anyway, I think that's what it is. Anyway, but I'm not 4 houses away from it, at least, because the closer you are to these, the more intense the signal is. So there's nobody. No one should have that in a residential neighborhood, like at all. There's a judge that lives right. There's a judge that lives right underneath it. Oh no, we don't. We're like whatever. Oh, they've painted it really nice, and then it's all matches, and it's like cute. The one over by the graveyard, and I made a joke that they're already dead. That's funny too, because the city workers work right underneath that water tower and right next to a graveyard. That's where they're whatever their sheds or their equipment. That's where they go. That's where they're kind of gather there, and but they work right underneath that tower, and that thing does look like a damn weapon. Yeah. So it's bad. I mean, the wires that go, they've even painted the wires that go up on the one by me, but they haven't put it in like a concrete box so you can see it's AT&T, there's power. I mean, and it really, probably you can find videos to take the meters off off these things, and then they have no power. So you guys, if this shit freaking hits the fan, you can remove the power off these fucking things.
Now, what do you think that would do if you remove the power off of it?
It's an internet. So the way that your phone works, and your radio works, and a shortwave radio works, and CB radio works, is a direct line Oh, that's that one. The phone. The phone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can go turn it off.
Let's pause right there.
Okay. Anyway, let's see. I mean, really, like okay, so the way that there's an old 1940s video on how mobile phones work, and this is back. They had mobile phones in the 40s. I didn't know this. It's like a Periscope film. It was on YouTube, and I'll just tell you about it. Anyway, and they said, now, wouldn't it be handy if George could call Frank on the road from the office? Let's say George is driving down the road and he whatever, he needs to make contact with his boss or something like that. And so they have the little phone and he picks it up and he calls the operator, because at that time they still had the plug-ins. I mean, this technology is really not new at all. And you could plug in, they're like, I need H4230, and she goes, okay, and plugs it in for you, and then it goes to you, and then you pick it up, and I hey, Frank, I had a flat tire out here. Can you send someone over? La la la, whatever. You can't, and then they go, here's how it works. There's a tower, and the tower by the road, and so your signal goes from the mobile phone remotely to that tower, and the tower goes to a tower in the middle of town, which goes all over the town. You only need one tower, and then it goes into a line down to the phone line, and then Frank picks it up, and then they go in reverse and explain it. It goes from tower to tower. The internet is, you'll lose your internet. You will lose your internet because it's the internet. However, the reason why you can go drive and now you go from signal to signal is that when you're talking or you're on Bluetooth, which is really dangerous, but anyway, is it just switches from tower to tower. Each time it switches, really, to be really safe, you should turn your Bluetooth off or turn your phone off would be the best. But Bluetooth, I'm not sure right now if it operates at 4G or 5G, and I'll explain the Gs, but in a minute. But every time it changes to another tower, or anytime you answer your phone, you should never have your phone up next to your head, ever. People are getting brain cancer. It will break through the blood-brain barrier, and if your brain starts bleeding, then it's game over. There's nothing anybody can do. But that's what a lot of people are getting, the tumors, and I think TV's denying that it's phones. Yeah. Because they're saying 5G is the greatest thing since grandma's apple pie or something.
Since sliced bread.
Since really? Did they say that really specifically?
No, but
okay.
No,
I don't know because I don't watch TV.
Sure.
Anyway, but your signal. So when you answer the phone, don't, especially at that point, you don't want to have it up next to your head, because that's when the highest power, the amount of frequency is. And there's frequencies, and they operate at different powers, and there's ionizing and non-ionizing. Like an X-ray, and I don't know the difference between the two. I believe ionizing would be just putting a, just bzzz, like an X-ray. But it's very short and sweet. But you can imagine if you left the X-ray on, that's the capability of 5G.
Right.
So, and I'm not sure what hertz X-rays. I don't know what hertz they operate at, or the power, because the power is a factor also. Okay, so considering the fact that my tower was 2G and they just switched it to 5G radios,
right,
means that everybody had their internet service and their cell phones, and it was working just fine at 2G. Okay, I'm not sure what frequency first generation and second generation. G stands for generation. So third generation was, I believe, operated at 800 megahertz, I believe.
Okay.
So that's going to be, I don't even know. Okay, 800, I think. So you guys can correct me or whatever if I'm wrong. Fourth generation operates on the bandwidth of 2.45 gigahertz. So that's 2.45 billion hertz per second. Okay, it's an intense frequency. That's what you cook your food with on your microwave oven.
Right.
So just remember this when you're pregnant and you want to put your phone on your belly next to your baby, or you want to put your teenager wants to keep their, talk to their, in case their boyfriend texts or whatever in the middle of the night, they keep it under their pillow or next on your bed, or you keep it in your pocket or your bra. People are getting there now. I've heard ads on the radio. Oh, well, you don't want to do that because it'll cause a rash. No, they don't want you to know it causes breast cancer or rectal, cancer, because in other countries, children can't even have a cell phone.
Right.
So we're very lenient. Our levels of microwatts per meter squared are completely over the top elevated. It would be like, I can't remember. I think Austria's is 0.0001 microwatts per meter squared, or it was anyway, and I believe that United States is 100,000 microwatts per meter squared allowable frequency, and it's not regulated because the whole FCC is the telecommunications industry runs the FCC.
Right.
So we have no say. Like a town has no say. Although the mayor signed this one. He lives in my godparents' old house, which was like a mansion.
Wow.
But anyway, that's beside the point. Anyway, I just don't know what happened there. The FCC basically has dictatorial power. So they and for health reasons, forget it. You can't sue them. You have absolutely no recourse. You have absolutely no recourse against them. They put the towers where they want them. They don't have to register under 300 feet in the air. And I believe that you can go to antennasearch.org or .net, and I can't remember what it is, but if you go to antennasearch.org or .net, you can type in your address, and then you can pick a range of where the towers are around you, and you can find out how many towers. I think where I live, which is close to the center of my town, there are 24 towers within a 3-mile radius of me.
Now, what do you think the purpose of these towers are?
The purpose of these towers?
Yeah.
They serve a purpose for the internet, and that's how the internet works. So I want to bring up something else that people are going to go reject. But I'm telling you, in the 1940s, they could explain how this technology worked better than they do today. They do that on purpose. You're not stupid. So you're not stupid. Einstein's a Zionist, not a scientist. Okay.
Right.
So you need to read his book, Cosmic Religion, and it's cosmic religion because it's faith-based. It's garbage. There's nothing, not one line of science. And the scientists of that time in 1930, this book was published in 1930 or 31, Cosmic Religion by Albert Einstein. It's 100 pages. He wrote half of it. Then whatever. I don't even know why I'm getting on that. I get off. Okay, let's go on. Okay, so you asked me come back to that question.
Okay. Come back to that question.
Yeah, come back to whatever. What did you ask me?
What is the purpose of the tower? What are the
purpose of the towers? Yeah. They would be for communication, for the internet, for cell phone, for your internet service. That's where I was going with this. Okay, so HughesNet.com is one of the 5G internet providers in my town. And so when I went to their website, the overview of the website says our satellites operate 22,000 miles away geostationarily, and so supposedly, according to science from NASA, we're 25,000 miles in circumference, and then you add to that another 22,000 miles, and when they're saying geostationarily, they're saying that some satellite out there 22,000 miles away from I'm guessing the face of the Earth, I'm not thinking of the middle of the Earth, away, the surface, and that as we're spinning 1,038 miles per hour, and other multiple ridiculous speeds,
right,
that this is geostationary, and so it's spinning mad. It would be, you could do the math on it. I haven't done the math on it, but you can clearly see this is bullshit. It's fraudulent.
So you're saying the tower will have to spin with the approximate speed of
the satellite
right.
to the tower, to the Earth,
right.
would have to be spinning simultaneously at that amount of speed.
Okay.
So if it wasn't if it wasn't geostationary, that means the Earth's spinning and there's all these satellites up here all over the place, and they're like,
right.
really, because I can lose a signal. Here's when I lose signals: on Indian reservations and in valleys. The reason why is because they're not providing internet service for the Indians, because now this 1940s periscope film, they could use the mobile phones with the towers.
Right.
So if you understand Nikola Tesla, not Albert Einstein and his stupid curved light theory and speed of light theory, there's speed of electricity, speed of light, there's lumens. Light is measured in lumens. 1 lumen is 1 candle. Right. So that's when I light my store or my display, I will figure out what kind of lighting I want, and then I'll figure out how many lumens I need. So it's how much power that light source has. It has. This is my opinion based on my research. Based on my research, so I haven't. That's what I believe. If anyone wants to correct me or provide evidence for that or whatever, but I am not remotely convinced of that. So ether. Nikola Tesla believed in ether. Ether is between you and I. So it's how you're hearing me. It's how I talk to someone in Pakistan in real time, 11 hours away. So through ether. So ether works in straight lines. When they show these pictures of these cute little CGIs with the satellites and the curved lines, they're doing that quite intentionally. Like the tower is a curved line. They aren't. They work in straight lines. It's like the water. It's level. It doesn't curve anywhere. It never curves. Right. They have sea level. They have mountains above sea level and towns above sea level. And if you're below sea level, you're in the water. So, you take a puddle, you take a lake, you take an ocean, it doesn't curve. It does not curve. Right. It's the same with radio waves. So the reason why you're losing signal in a valley is because that wave will not go through that mountain. Or if I'm on an Indian reservation driving through like this northern top of Arizona, the whole way across, we had no cell phone reception. We had like 1G. We couldn't. Nothing would load. We didn't have reception.
And that would be because the waves are going straight on the land and not coming down from the satellite, right?
Like with the mountains, like in the in the valleys.
The mountains and the valleys.
Yeah, like in California when I lived in LA, like your radio would go in and out, like when you're driving in the valleys, because the signal is not. It can't penetrate through the mountains. Now, less than a hertz can, but at radio level waves, they can't. They can't. So the difference is when you start going up 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, that means generation. So each generation keeps getting a more intense frequency. So at fifth generation Wi-Fi, when I looked it up, was 3 to 300 gigahertz bandwidth. Uses a 3 to 300 gigahertz bandwidth. So that's 300 gigahertz would be 300 billion frequencies in a second. So, so it's extremely intense. Okay, so the less the hertz, the less amount of hertz you have, the longer the wave, and the more penetrable it is. So, less than 1 hertz can go through the ground.
Sure.
Fifth generation Wi-Fi can't even go through my bedroom wall from my modem to my house. That's why they say, you this is for your TV and put your modem right next to your TV. And that's why when you have your dual modem, we have dual modems here. I don't know how many people have dual modems, but we got 5G here. And so it comes with dual modem 1 and 2 or 2.5 and 5. It'll say G or gigahertz or something like that. The 2.45 gigahertz, the fourth generation operates on 2.45 gigahertz. That's the same frequency that you cook your leftovers in your microwave.
Right.
That's the same frequency that your smart meter works on, your utility meter. And
So, what do you think the agenda is behind this? Like, if they're just, do you think it's just for communication purposes and the internet?
no, 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 no. No, I don't think, and I don't think they have for a very long time because they've known this technology existed for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've known it for a very long time.
Yeah, because they say like when we get technology, we get it like how many years behind?
Like 20 or 30 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, mobile phones were, they had mobile phones when they're still operators,
Mm-hmm.
but we didn't get them till the 90s or later than that.
Right,
I mean,
right.
common wasn't until just recently, really,
Mm-hmm.
in the relative scheme of
Yeah,
things.
especially with the flat screens came out, maybe, or with the apps. and
Maybe
everything.
10 or 20
Not even.
years ago. 10 years.
Not even. Yeah, about
10 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, about 10 years
That
ago.
was just with the apps.
So and now we're very dependent on our internet.
Mm-hmm.
So the thought of like taking them, I don't want to disable. So here's what I think about this: why they don't want us to understand this technology is in the 1940s when they had the mobile phones, and I'm watching this video, and you can watch it too. You can find it. They're explaining this technology is very clear. So it's an internet, and so if one tower goes down, you're still going to have your internet.
Mm-hmm.
When you drive now, they have it pretty well, so you don't have to switch your, you don't have to, they used to have the roaming, and now they have it down so it switches whenever you're driving, and whenever it switches, that you're going to get a power surge.
Right.
So there's going to be more power because it's changing from one tower to the other. So that's when you're getting the most frequency. So when you're talking on your phone, you never want to have, it's like basically holding your head up against your microwave when you turn it on, heating up your coffee in the morning. I haven't had a microwave in years.
Right.
Because I don't want that. It also radiates it, so it's radiating all the nutrition out of it's heating it up. So at 2.45 gigahertz, what happens is water molecules destabilize.
So that would be behind the global warming epidemic.
There's lots of things behind that other than it's a hoax.
You think it's a hoax?
It's definitely a hoax.
So you don't.
It's not heating up. No.
You don't believe in?
No, it's not in there. No, and you can research that Donna Laframboise. I don't know what Laframboise. Laframboise, and she is an anti-fracker, so she's not she's not like pro destroy the earth. She's very much, but what she did was she read the international panel on, there's an international panel on climate change, and it's a governmental agency. It's a I don't even know if it's a governmental agency. It's a business agency, and I think the guy that runs it is Maury Strong. That's a whole other story. But if you're interested in knowing what climate change is, what she did was she had a blog, and she started researching this, and she wanted to go through all of the references for this panel on climate change, and she had her bloggers help her, and you know how they say the 4,000 scientists. Well, if you look more closely, and you look at congressional hearings, it doesn't matter even what country, on climate change, you'll find real scientists, and the real scientists are very concerned about this lie that's being told. So it is not, the earth is not heating up, and they pick and choose what they want. If somewhere is having a heat wave, they're going to report that. They're not reporting anywhere else. We're actually entering a ice age. So we're actually, in actuality, so they're taking like the wave of climate on this earth, and they're taking like a little bit, so they're like, first it was global warming, so they're saying, oh well, if it gets this warm, it's gonna just take off and we're all gonna burn up and die. So no, because it goes like this. So if you take 50 years,
the hotter it gets,
it's getting hotter overall, and plus it's climate change. Of course, the climate changes. So it's a very twisted. It's another play on words. It's a spelling. So you have to watch the spelling and things. Yeah, but actually, the ice caps are actually getting more ice, and they're not melting. Like 97% of them are growing. 3% of them are.
No, they said Antarctica is as hot as it's ever been.
Antarctica on the south.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the north, but it's really the south. Well, you know they say the map is upside down. How do you feel about that?
The map is upside down.
Mm-hmm. They said
No, I think the Earth is if you look up Antarctica coastline, you're going to see ice walls all the way around. So south would be Antarctica, and north is going to be the Arctic, right? Is that right?
Right.
They have that right. So when you have a compass, like it's going to go. It doesn't. North is not up. We actually have 6 directions. North, south, east, west, and all the other ones in between. And we have up and down. So our compass does not go up. If you put the compass up, it's going to go. It's not going to know what to do. So it's magnetized to the north. So it's attracted to the north. It's not attracted to down. It's not.
Right.
That north is not up. North is in.
North is in.
North is into the center. So ship captains and pilots are going to know the Earth is actually flat and stationary. If you look at the research and patents on all of the planes, and it's called an airplane, not an airplanet, because it flies on a plane. So, if it's spinning this fast and you take off, east and west go in a circle. So if you're flat, so if you're flying a plane, technically you should just lift off and the Earth would spin and you could just land again. That's not what happens. And the other thing that pilots know this, but they can't speak out about it, is that there's gyroscope, and you can't manipulate a gyroscope. It's like you can't manipulate a level. So you can't manipulate a level. When they're building a road or building a train or building a building or building anything, it's level. There's no adjustment for curvature of the Earth. If you talk to an engineer, even though he thinks it's a globe still, but there's no adjustment for curvature. There's no way to adjust for curvature on a level or a gyroscope. A gyroscope goes, and you're going to, if the Earth is round, then a plane would have to be constantly flying down. Otherwise, you're going to just fly off into, crash in the firmament, or end up in a wormhole or somewhere. I don't even know. That's science fiction. But anyway, so we're like way off. Yeah. Something happened here.
I don't know, because you were talking about being sick, and then we got to the 5G. Now we're on flat Earth.
Okay, so no. It's really important to understand that the technology of how your cell phone works. Right. It works from tower to tower to tower. Shortwave radios, you could hear them. You could hear somebody in Iraq or whatever.
Now, what does this have to do with you being sick or it making you sick?
Okay, so we swapped the towers out in the fall of 2019, which happened to be the same time period that Wuhan, China, also put up their 5G. I don't think Macomb has small cells, although I don't have any idea what they look like, so I'm not even sure about that, but I don't think so. And I've had the 5G turned off in my house and in my store, so I don't have 5G, but I'm not sure. Now, Bluetooth used to work on 4G, but I'm not sure what it's working on now. But if you're subjected to 5G, so I'm learning about all this coronavirus. I'm going to refer you to Dr. Andrew Kaufman, Kaufman, and he's not the first one. He was about the third doctor or naturopathic, person talking about what a virus is, and a virus is dead, and so it doesn't cross species. Like you can't get a virus from a bird. You can't a bat.
It didn't come from bat.
A monkey.
A turtle soup.
No, bat soup. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a bat up there. Anyway, so it didn't come from a bat. Like, there's no way. In fact, it's man-made. I think everybody knows that it's man-made. And we've had swine flu. We've had all these H1N1 and blah, 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 blah. Well, what happens every time you have this happen? You get a vaccination and you get vaccinated. And just look up what the ingredients are in a flu shot or any kind of shot. We're getting off topic again.
Well, you're talking about being sick, and now we're talking about vaccination.
I know. I get on tangents really easy.
But that's kind of the same thing, because if you get sick, like with the corona now, they're trying out vaccines on living people, and they're paying them for it.
Yeah, so it's really important to understand. Okay, so I'll just go on. So I was sick until two weeks till I went to the doctor, went on my antibiotic for 10 days, got my ear, whatever, was deaf for like a month. So I was sick. You know, I didn't feel bad, but I mean, it was feel bad not to be able to hear and not knowing what was going on. And I was concerned about because I've used a phone next to my ear until it just got unbearable and I can't do it anymore. I always put my phone on speaker. I never carry it on my body ever. So it doesn't sit next to me at night. I unplug my internet at night, unplug it out of the wall, unplug it from power to it at all. So I probably got over it all the way over it, like about 6 weeks, in 6 weeks. So I was pretty sick. And I told them I thought I had whatever this was, because at the time I didn't really get it, except for then I found out that Wuhan implemented it. And what I mean by small cells is when they're talking about smart cars and they park themselves, that means they're putting up small cells. It's a very intense shortwave. It doesn't penetrate through walls, but if you put it outside, they have to put them up either like every 500 feet or 500 meters. I don't know what they look like, but that's how your car drives itself. They are still busy putting up all the 5G in Wuhan. So I'm feeling like what happened to me, I know the source of where I got sick. This is where it gets like kind of messy.
Okay.
My friend had been to a casino and where you're pulling the slot machines. And so what they're telling you is this is airborne. First of all, I don't believe that at all, because I've been sick. I think this is what they're talking about. And I think what happened was he was playing the slots, him and his girlfriend, they both got sick. And you have your sweaty palms, and somebody got a flu shot with a contaminant in it, which is not a virus. Virus is dead, so all viruses wipe them out because they don't make you sick. They're dead, and you can't pass something dead on to somebody else. So it's got to be some kind of a microcosmic bacteria or something else. There's something else going on here, and I'm not a microbiologist, so I don't know what that is. But I believe that I got sick because I'm pretty healthy and all my friends are pretty healthy generally. From a fluid from his hands, like sweaty hand, he touched the slot machine. He drank out of the cup. I drank out of the cup. I got sick. His girlfriend got sick. She was at the casino with him. My boyfriend got sick, and I got sick before he did. So whatever this was passed on, and it wasn't a virus.
Right.
Whatever it was not a virus. But I was sick for a long time, so it's real to me that I was sick. I know I was sick. So anyway, so then I'd have a friend, and she's also very healthy, non-GMO for 13 years, and her daughter, who's about 5, she homeschools her daughter, has never eaten meat in her life, so they're very healthy. Was playing with a friend who had gotten a flu shot for school, and then she came over, left her chapstick at her house. The little girl that got the flu shot, got sick with the flu. The girl, my friend's daughter, got sick because she was playing with the girl's chapstick. So there you have another. I do not believe this. Whatever this is airborne. I think it's something that is very microscopic, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
They said it's contagious through droplets, as far as sweat, any bodily fluids.
I would believe that whatever it is would be, but I don't believe it's airborne.
No, I don't.
I believe that it's just because I know 2 people that have had this, and neither one of my friends believe that either. They think it's something. Then I want to add, I think the little girl, my friend's daughter, got sick in December. So this was put in the fall. Probably would have been October. I'm guessing it's like September or October. I don't remember. But somewhere around there. And then I think that what happens, since we have a 5G in this town, like you walk into a business, not this one, but you can walk into, any place, and they're probably going to have 5G at this point. And with that 5G is 3 to 300 gigahertz. The bandwidth is, and most of the bandwidths are using 60 gigahertz bandwidth. So at that frequency, oxygen destabilizes. So the way your food cooks in your microwave is that water destabilizes and it shakes and it makes your chicken hot, your leftover chicken hot or whatever it is, and then when you overcook it, it cooks. It fries. It gets hard because it's all the water is being that's how it cooks. The water molecules are bouncing and they're heating up and they're cooking your food that way. So that's what this phone does. Mm-hmm. So obviously this is not a good idea.
No.
So 5G, this is a worse idea.
Right.
Okay, so 5G operates. They've picked out this 60 gigahertz bandwidth, and I believe at 2.45 gigahertz and 60 gigahertz, they don't have to register. I believe they don't even have to register at that bandwidth. So
why is that?
Because I don't. That's getting into like the antenna. Like when you go to antennasearch.net or org or whatever it is, it'll say, it'll identify which ones. Some of them will be identified. Some of them will say they can't. They're not registered.
Correct.
So anyway, let's see. So at 60 gigahertz, oxygen molecules destabilize. Oh. So your oxygen molecules. What are they now calling coronavirus? They're calling it an acute respiratory disease. Mm-hmm. Well, what do oxygen molecules that are destabilized doing to you? You can't breathe. You people in Wuhan are passing out and they're having seizures. And I want to tell you something else. After I found out about vaccines, my husky had grand mal seizures directly after her first vaccine, rabies vaccine at 9 months, and then she had anaphylactic attacks, which my veterinarian told me were dog hiccups. And I'm pretty sure I know what a hiccup is. And they would go on for like 10 minutes, like like she can't breathe. Right. So, and I've had an anaphylactic attack once, which might have come after a cortisone shot actually in my knee, but I can't remember, so I don't want to say that. But anyway, it can kill you. It can kill you. Mm-hmm. The other thing, let's see, where do we go now?
The what?
Where do we go now with this conversation?
Coronavirus.
That I believe that, here's what I want to say. That I believe that the way that I got this, it's not a virus, that I got this, whatever it was activated by the 60 gigahertz frequency. If you don't know who Royal Rife is, you can look him up, RIFE. He cured cancer with frequency, and I think it was between 100 and 300 hertz, and they can cure cancer with frequency. He had these microscopes where he could see the frequency.
You're not talking about the radiation treatments?
No.
Okay.
No. So I don't know what those operate at, except for they operate at kill you frequency. So whatever, I would never do that. He cured cancer. They then proceeded to destroy his laboratory, but that's the same kind of technology. That's the same kind of technology that's if you can cure something with frequency, they probably understand what can cause illness at what frequency. So they could probably make a microbe, something that is very microscopic that can be transmitted with body fluids, and I'm just talking about sweat or saliva or something like that. That has a gestation period is 2 to 10 days. So, and maybe even not even that long. I don't know how long something, but I think the COVID, they're saying, is 2 to 10 days gestation period. Right. So it could be sitting there for, a while, a few days before you would, technically according to what they're saying.
I think they're saying like 2 weeks before you show symptoms.
I think it's like 2 to 10 days, the gestation. I'm not sure what they're saying, except for that so that's what I think is there's something microscopic that they're putting in flu shots. So I believe that I got sick from a carrier of someone who got a flu shot. And my friend also, she and her daughter got sick from someone who got a flu shot and became a carrier, and that carrier also got sick. So the carrier of this flu shot probably also got sick. So I don't know when they would have gotten that flu shot, but 5D or 60 gigahertz might activate something like that. Because half my town has been sick with this really no phlegm, and this is a common symptom that they're complaining about with this. And I asked 3 doctors, by the way, to give me the test, and I want to explain why you don't want to test. And I didn't know this.
Only 5 people have been tested here.
Let's just I asked them and they just ignored me. Well, I didn't ask them. I just said I think I have it, and they're like, whatever. Like what? They don't have tests. First of all, they don't have tests here. So I'm not sure how they're testing in China, but they have this little thing and they go scan your head or something, and then they test you in your. So I want to explain why this is not good. Anyway, so they don't have tests here. If they do have tests, which I don't even know, they probably have a test for whatever this is. But I don't think it's out there in their hospitals, or I don't think people have access to that test.
Right.
Because I just don't believe that, and they're very limited, the amount of tests. They're very limited here, which is very odd because every freaking checkpoint has a monitor, and they just scan your head in China, and they drag you out of your car and steal your car and kidnap you. And this is where we're going. So look up shoot to kill coronavirus. Like, just look it up and start looking at the videos of what's happening in Italy and China. They're pulling people out of their houses that are quarantined to go put them in quarantine with other people, which makes no sense whatsoever. And dragging them out of their homes.
Take you out of quarantine to put you in quarantine.
Yeah. So that logic makes no sense whatsoever. So the significance of understanding how these tests work or don't work is that the other thing is the statistics behind this. Like the amount of people that die from iatrogenic deaths, the last time I checked, was 8.
Now, what is that?
Iatrogenic deaths would be death by doctor. Okay. So death by prescription medication you're taking properly, right. Or an operation that went bad, or something like that. So, and that's probably way under what it really is. But the last time I checked, the number of deaths from coronavirus versus iatrogenic deaths was 800. Death by doctor was 800 times higher than the amount of deaths for coronavirus. Wow. The amount of deaths by aspirin was 10 times higher.
10 times higher
than coronavirus. In fact, what I just saw recently was that, and I think this is the source of this is Dr. Andrew Kaufman. He was discussing the CDC numbers and stuff like that. That at this rate, we will have very little illness in the United States this year, relative to other years. Like, it is perfectly typical when older people who are already compromised, their immune system is not good, that if they become ill or get sick or get a respiratory infection, it can develop into pneumonia, and then they can die, especially if they're taking medication and their immune system's already compromised. Right. So over 60 years old, people are more susceptible that their immune system is compromised already, are susceptible to that kind of any kind of illness in addition to whatever they have. Right. So that's just normal. That's normal, sad but normal, but it's normal. So what I'm finding now is they want to give people over 65 super flu shots.
Well, and I think it's in Italy, people over 60, people over 80, they're just letting them die, and they're thinking about lowering the number to 65.
They're just letting them die?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's Italy or China.
And what do you mean by letting them die?
They're not treating them.
Oh, well anyway, it's the 60 gig, it's the 5G that's killing them anyway.
Yeah.
Like, you mean they're not giving them any medication?
No
like
medication
I did. That's this selective. They're trying to get rid of the elderly, and So it's a form of genocide. This is a form of worldwide genocide. I'm not going to call it a globe. If you look at
kill the elders.
And if you give some, which they could require it in nursing homes, and you're going to see the death rate skyrocket.
Mm-hmm.
And they want that. They want high numbers. They want you to think that this is deadly and this is going to kill you, and they want you to be scared. And it's a freaking. I got over it, but I had mine developed into something else, and I know people that had it for a day. They're just really tired, and they just like kind of, stayed home, went to bed, slept, and then were over it. So mine just went on, a little bit longer, and it developed into other issues. And I live next to this tower, so I started also losing my hair, and I think I was zinc and iron deficient, and I think I've got starting to come. But my hair does have a lot of hair, but it does feel like it's thinner, especially on the side of my head where I had this eustachian ear dysfunction.
I feel like it's thinner on that side.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a little freaky. And I still live next to that tower. So,
right.
And I just don't know how it's operating. I just don't know how it's operating because it still has to be, it's still, to communicate with the other towers, is probably still at a 2G frequency, which is less than 800 megahertz, mm-hmm. which is 3G. So that's it's got to reach from one tower to the next tower to the next tower to the next tower. Right. So the 5G being a faster, and it's intermittent, so your 5G, if it was turned on, it'd kill you it'd kill you in a matter of seconds, probably. Right. I mean, it's an intermittent frequency, mm-hmm. so it's going on and off all the time. So it's just a very dangerous. And the reason why I think it's COVID ID, I think ID stands for identification because they play with these words all the time, mm-hmm. and I believe that they are going to put something in the chip into the vaccination with their new, cure, which they come up immediately. Surprise, right. Surprise. And I feel like at this juncture, they're going to start requiring people that go back to work. They're going to push corporations into requiring their employees mm-hmm. that work with food or, they already do it in the health industry sure. to get a shot. So the best defense with that, because I would not do that. I mean, if you have a chip, then eventually we're going to the cashless society. We're going to wipe your, the mark of the beast. You mm-hmm. you get your money put on your chip and you scan it on the register, and it's a GPS, so that you know what you're doing all the time. If you really piss them off, they could probably just go buzz and take you out. I mean, quite literally. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't not mean that. And
I get what you said.
And like it's pretty serious. The best way to, since you are already allergic to flu shots, to any kind of vaccination. Because I've never understood this whole vaccine thing anyway. But I'm thinking, their story is, it creates antibodies, and then your immune system becomes stronger. But at the same time, I'm listening to advertisements on, your baby goo-goos gagas at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months. It's not doing anything. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? You just shoved so much toxins into your infant that you're killing, that it's overloaded with toxins now, and it can't defend itself anymore, and it's just gone over the edge. And now you have a brain dead. You have this. So it's very frightening, the amount of vaccinations they're pumping into children and everybody else, encouraging them to go get flu shots. And I don't know anybody that's gotten a flu shot. I think almost everybody I've talked to that's gotten a flu shot has had a bad experience from a flu shot.
I haven't had a flu shot in over 10 years.
Yeah, so so what you say is, I'm allergic, I have seizures and anaphylactic attacks, and all my medical records say that I am allergic to vaccinations. Mm-hmm. Oh. Like, you will kill me if you give me. Tell them, you will kill me if you give me a vaccine. I'm not taking it. Right. I'll die. So I have seizures and I have anaphylactic attacks. Put it on all your medical records. Just put it on all your medical records. They've also come up with a chip that they can put on you and keep track of your vaccination record, mm-hmm. like children's vaccination records. So they got this down. They got this down, and if people don't wise up pretty soon, like we're going into martial law. It's kind of like the frogs are in the water and they're turning up the heat. And you might be laughing about it and thinking this is just going to pass away. But if look at Wuhan and look at China and Italy, they're still on lockdown. They're starting to put ankle bracelets on people that might be contaminated or might have the virus.
Right.
Well, for 3 months. Well, how long really is that going to last? And who really are these people? So I do want to go into one more thing. So about the AIDS, and Robert Gallo of the World Health Organization.
Yeah, because they said that coronavirus is a virus that transformed into a disease, something like HIV and AIDS. Like HIV.
Oh, is that what they're saying now?
Turns into AIDS, and that's what kills you.
Well, yeah, and technically AIDS is autoimmune deficiency syndrome, and the autism conference that I went to, anyway, the autism conference I went to, all the children were autoimmune deficient.
Right.
Like they get vaccinated, and so the really awesome things about vaccines is they put mercury in them, and mercury. So if you have one of those twisty, whatever, energy saver light bulbs in your kid's room and it breaks, you call the company. They're going to tell you to get a hazmat team and come in and clean up your child's room and get the mercury out of the room with hazmat suits.
Right.
However, you stick a needle in their arm with thimerosal, and that's okay. That's okay, and you do it over and over and over and over again. But that's perfectly safe. I mean. Or fish. Like, I'm pretty sure I don't remember feeding my daughter a lot of tuna. Like, it comes from the fish. They're also saying that it's inorganic versus organic. That the mercury in your vaccine is organic. It's called thimerosal. So they spell it a couple different ways. THIMERASOL, I think. And I think there's another way that they're spelling it. But thimerosal, so look up thimerosal. They used to put my eye doctor, who was plugged into the matrix, like totally plugged into the matrix. He told me they used to put, I know what thimerosal is. They used to put it in eye contact solution until it started making people blind. Right. Okay, I'm thinking it's not such a great idea. And it also might have to do with also turning, this whole wet dream of the Zionists to turn people into these transhuman human
zombies,
robots, of serfs. So I don't know. It's very weird. But I do want to talk about the AIDS, HIV and AIDS. So viruses don't go cross species, or viruses are dead. So they're not going to go across humans either. But
Humans didn't get it from monkeys.
No, and the true story about this is that in 1979, I think I already told you this, but I'm telling you again. In 1979, the Center for Death Control, the Center for Disease Control, did a study on, they recruited gay promiscuous men and IV drug users, so useless eaters, I believe it was San Francisco, New York, and maybe it's Dallas or something, and I'm not sure about those cities, but I'm pretty sure I've got a couple of them, right? Anyway, in 1979, so what happened was people started getting sick. And it was, I believe it was a series of 3 hepatitis B shots, which is what you put into your child, your children, your infant children. Sure. Series of 3 hepatitis B shots, because obviously they're gay promiscuous men and intravenous drug users, and they absolutely need that. Well, anyway, I'm not sure what was in that vaccine, but my guess is that it had thimerosal in it, and that they were testing this population, and they were good test studies. They started getting sick. They were like, "Hey, I'm sick. You're sick. What? Took these shots. These shots. The CDC's that it was experiment. Blah, blah. Oh my God, I did too. That's call the CDC." So they contacted the CDC, and they said they don't have any records on these. They don't have any records
on the patient,
on any of these people.
Wow.
So they're lost. So they're taking no liability or no anything. And the other thing is that you should know is that you can't sue, like, vaccinations are exempt from their accountability. So there's a vaccination, some kind of fund where immunization relief fund or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't, the big pharma is protected from being sued for vaccinations. So when you're electing to have your children or yourself vaccinated with anything, whatever happens to you, you have no recourse for it. So that's pretty sweet.
So you're saying they can vaccinate you, and if something comes wrong because of that, there's nothing you can do about it.
Right. You have no recourse.
Right.
So that's really cool for them.
Yeah, for them, maybe. I'm not so sure.
It's
about
not really
people.
that funny.
Yeah,
but I mean,
so
now of course they've got this corona vaccine, and a lot of money people go running and begging for it, and it's got, chances are it's going to have a chip in it, and you're going to be, that's it, game over. You're not going to get that out of your body. Maybe with a magnet. I'm not sure about that. Magnets are awesome. Okay, so we're going to the AIDS. I will make this quick, I promise. Maybe. Okay, so we'll go back to the AIDS in 1979. So what happened was that they had this AZT that they gave them after about a year of this going on, and they decided that they would treat AIDS, autoimmune deficiency syndrome, with this AZT, which I believe was a failed cure for cancer. Mm-hmm. Is that what you...
I haven't heard.
I think, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that part of it, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And so I guess now, in fact, if you go to WebMD and you look up coronavirus, it says, at some point in everyone's life, they'll get coronavirus. So this is dumb. Sure. So this is like, if you haven't figured out that that quarantine is a nice name for martial law, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, that's what they were calling concentration camps at one point.
Concentration camps.
Yeah.
Quarantines.
Yes.
Probably. Yeah. Probably. So okay. So what happened was that with the AIDS, they wanted to a test for AIDS, because that was the scare in the 80s, is everybody's going to have AIDS and it was sexually transmitted. I do not believe that, not for 1 second. I believe that they got it from the Hep B shots. It did not have anything to do with monkeys, maybe Fort Detrick, but not monkeys. And that's all hype. It's all scare. They like to scare, fear. So they came up with the cure, AZT. And AZT was killing people with AIDS. So before AZT, they were getting sick. Mm-hmm. When they started getting administered AZT, they were dying. So they quit giving them AZT. Right. But now I understand that they could be giving AZT treatments for coronavirus. And I'm sure that if they do that because they're giving them AIDS medicine or something, they're giving them. I read that a while before all this martial law stuff happened. Like they're giving them AIDS treatment, treating it like it's AIDS. So that's scary, because if they've stockpiled this AZT, that's going to kill you. Mm-hmm. It won't be the coronavirus. It won't be whatever they're calling as a coronavirus. AZT.
Now, what is the initials for?
I don't know. AZT is what it's called. AZT. It's like capital A, capital Z, capital T. Mm-hmm. So so all I know is that they're treating it with AIDS things, medicine. Well, AIDS is caused by getting probably the thimerosal was in it. Not for sure that's what was causing them to be sick, but when you put a heavy metal in your body, then you get sick. So there's more I could talk about that. But Robert Gallo of the World Health Organization, I believe, he came up with this test for AIDS to see if you have AIDS. So everybody knows that HIV causes AIDS. So I'm going to tell you right now, HIV doesn't cause AIDS. It's like saying, you know what? This person that has AIDS has blue eyes. So I'm going to test this person for blue eyes. And so it's some kind of DNA or RNA test. I'm not sure what it is. Mm-hmm. But I'm just giving you the analogy of my understanding of it. And if there's a different understanding and you understand it differently, then go for it and explain it. So it's like this person with AIDS has blue eyes, and so we need to we need to find out, we need to create a test for this AIDS. So we're going to find this gene for blue eyes. And then we're going to test people. And then they would, somebody has blue eyes and they have AIDS. And then I say, hey, I want to test to see if I have AIDS. And they test me and I have blue eyes. So therefore I'm tested positive for AIDS.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
Right.
So don't get tested for this thing. I'm glad I didn't get tested for it. But I've had it. I've had whatever this is. I think that the 60 gigahertz, the 5G triggered this microscopic whatever it was. And I think that it was transmitted through a carrier, and the carrier was someone with a flu shot. I believe the carrier was someone that had gotten a flu shot, and that's how I got it. That's how my friends got it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the same type of test they're coming up with. The test for this COVID is not, it's giving a lot of false positives. It'll test you positive when you're negative, and then if you're suspected, they're treating in other countries, when you start looking this up, they're treating suspected contaminated people like terrorists. I mean, they're putting ankle bracelets on them. Are Italy and China out of lockdown yet? I don't think so. So I'm not sure where this is going, but I'm thinking that Americans better wake up, and don't take anything that I'm saying for granted. Go look it up for yourself. Start researching some of the words I've said in this, and look it up yourself. Don't ever take anyone's word for anything. Go look it up for yourself.
Yeah.
Always. So, when I know something, I'm pretty sure of it, but I'm also not above being corrected, or sometimes I'm led a different direction. But do your own research.
All right. That was great.
Okay, that was really long. That turned into really long. I'm not sure if